Howdy, all you familiar non-faces. Um, I don't understand this. How can you have anxiety when your pulse is 72? Okay. I thought anxiety was like a mental thing that spilled over into your body. But like, I feel a general wrongness inside me and I feel anxious. I've been having a lot of anxiety since getting sprayed with poison. And blowing up at my landlord. And basically, I can't tell you what I'm going to do because apparently Jamie Two Rock, if he's going to look up my name, he could actually look up as if he would care that much, but he cared enough to look up my name and print it. So if people would care enough to get involved in my life through the internet and warn my landlord, because you can find out a lot just from a person's name, like where they live, who they rent off of, and whatnot. So maybe that's my paranoid mind or not understanding 21st century technology or whatever. But I'm going to be paranoid. Okay. Um, I have plans that are of a punitive measure, and I do not want any malicious characters like interfering with them. So I can't tell you what I am going to do. Um, but my landlord said, I really shouldn't tell you this. Not my landlord. What am I even thinking? Um, my police friend told me, whose dad used to rent properties, and then he took over the properties. Very similar to the situation I got with Gerald, where Gerald's dad, Bob, taught him to be a landlord, and he took over some of Gerald's properties, except for, I think my friend operates on a much smaller scale and with much higher standards. I mean, I lived in a slummy place, but I paid $225 a month, so you get what you pay for. So, and they would try to cut corners all the time, like try to do their own work and stuff, just like um, Gerald does. I think I showed you the ramp outside to where they didn't bother to weatherproof it. I don't know how long it's going to last, or if the guy in the wheelchair is one day just going to fall through it. But they don't bother to treat it with some kind of weather stain stuff that my brother would know a lot more about because he's a lot more into wood than I am, so to speak. And but anyways, I've been having like a lot more anxiety since that happened, and it's like it seems to be like all in my head, and then like I feel it in my chest. I feel like a general sense of wrongness, but then when I take my pulse is 72 because I've been taking a lot of blood pressure medication, and I upped my Xanax. Not my. What the fuck am I flashing back to Xanax for? These things. Taking more of these things, which is volume. Like I took 3 today. I made like a horrible error in judgment. Like I had woke up because I'm stressed and I'm anxious. I woke up at 5:45 in the morning, and um, so I called my relative in Florida, talked to him for a bit, and then he was like, "Oh, I gotta take a nap, dude." He's like, "I got up way too early," and I said, "I got up way too early too. I'll probably be joining you," but I was wide awake, and I started to feel anxious, and like, so I took 2. I'm supposed to take 3 dose a day. That's my prescribed dosage, which I almost never take. And so I took two. And the minute I take two, I'm like yawning and ready to go to sleep. And I'm like, oh, this was a mistake. I might as well turn off the baseball game now. And just, passed out. So now my sleep is disrupted, which happens, of course, when I'm anxious and upset and whatnot. I don't like conflict. I was raised not to like conflict because of growing up the way I did in a house with a dangerous father. And not dangerous like I have a bad temper. I might give you a whooping type dangerous. I mean dangerous, like dangerous. So I don't like conflict. I tried to avoid conflict before I got sprayed with the poison until Gerald was scolding me for being poisoned, which caused me to blow up. I was just playing along. I'm like, I'll just play along, which I have plenty of experience at doing. When your dad spends 4 or 5 hours a day sharpening a knife, um, I was just gonna play along and save money because it's cheap to live here, and then get the fuck out of here. You know. But now the situation's totally changed because all the hostility come out in the open, and there's a couple of ways to play this. Now, there is another thing that's causing me anxiety. Is this right here? This is a rather large pile of mammon of the green stuff. Okay, but it's not quite enough to cover what I need to pay 4 months rent in advance, which is what I said I was going to do. So I spent like hours today trying to figure out because I went a little bit wacky with the football cards again because I kept finding these deals that were like insane, like I couldn't pass up because I know I can make money off of them in the future. But I also know that when I did that before, that I got overdrafted and stuff because I got hit with the shit all at once. So I've been neurotically calling my bank and going over everything and making sure I have enough money to get through the month, or even have enough money to cover the rest of this that I need, and to keep my word. Because if I don't keep my word, then you know all my threats become worthless. So I also made a decision, and I'm not letting the exterminator guy off the hook that easy. Hopefully, he ain't the type to beat his wife or kids when he's. I think about these things, Sigma male shit. You know that when he's stressed, I hope his family bands together and he doesn't like kick the dog and beat his wife or stuff like that, just because he's worried about me dragging him into civil court. But I want to. I've been sick. I've been anxious. I've been worried about my heart. I've had more heart palpitations. No arrhythmia. No hospitalization because that's automatic with arrhythmia. Got to go to the hospital. At least get your heart shocked. But it's like, no, no, I'm not letting that dude off that easy. Because I was gonna send, like I said, an envelope um, with a couple of football cards for his kids and like a waiver saying that you're not responsible for anything, just written out in hand and signed by me and dated. Which whether or not that will stand up in court or not, I don't know. You know, where I don't want any of his money. But now it's like I'm suffering. I'm still suffering emotionally. It's like, why shouldn't he still suffer emotionally? Um, he started all this crap by spraying me with poison. If he doesn't spray me with poison and Gerald doesn't open his big mouth, none of this stuff happens. I actually might have the energy to shave, or I might not be so depressed that I don't care about shaving. I might not like be having all this anxiety and sleep disruption and stuff. Might not be having to use up. I might be in less pain. I might not be having to uh, use more pills, take more blood pressure medication. So let him suffer. Sorry, I'm still suffering. I'm not over it. So why should I let him over it? I'm still suffering psychological trauma. Let him continue to suffer psychological trauma. Um, I'm not a masochistic Christian. I like to go out of my way to help people, like the uh, guy who should be getting home from work pretty soon, the Afghani war vet. I put a cord in the window for him so he could have electricity. He didn't have electricity for like over 2 months, you know, and I know he's a soul in pain, and I talked to him and give him someone to talk to him. I sold him like some of my cards, like super cheap, nice cards too. I got some other ones picked out over there for him that I'll sell him cheap, give him something to a hobby, something to look at, and it made him happy. And I brought out some plastic sheets for him to put. He bought some cards his own self for like $25 that they were just hanging loose, which you don't want with cardboard. And so I gave him some plastic sheets to put in there. I'm talking about that kind of Christianity, the kind of Christianity where you let people step on you and wipe their feet on you. It's like, I'm not into that, you know. The Buddhists say, in the face of that, rather than that sort of behavior, justice, you know. It seems like justice to me that if I'm suffering, he should suffer. When I'm done suffering, I'll let him off the hook. But then I start thinking, because I have too much time to think, I start thinking like, what if this is affecting like not just him negatively, but his family negatively and innocent people negatively, you know. But here I am, having anxiety and sweating my money situation because I don't completely understand um, banking. I'll be perfectly frank about that. I mean, unless I'm talking to somebody face to face, I mean, if I go through, I'm an old guy, so if I go through all that automated stuff, it's like it's telling me, okay, I wrote down everything that I bought. It's telling me that it knows about everything I bought, but it's telling me I have an available balance that is a decent available balance where I can finish this pile of the green stuff and I should be cool and be able to carry through the month. Um, but it's in the back of my head. It's back in March. I know I fucked up big time, and yeah, it'd be such a difference if I could get out of the house and take care of my own business, go to the bank myself, do everything myself, And the scooter thing I figured out is like the doctor visit was 522. It's like a little over a month away. It takes 3 to 6 months to get one of them things. So like I'm just kind of stuck here in the house. You see me walking on the porch. I can't even freaking operate a phone. Um, I turned the phone off. I actually kept the video going and walked back in my house and made a return trip. But I turned it off as was showing the ramp that had to be specially built for the wheelchair guy when he moved in here. And anyways, the plan that I got laid out is not really, part of it's devious, part of it's not devious, okay? But the main thing is I don't want this dude raising the rent on me because everybody else in this building pays $450. I paid $400 and I paid $25 extra to have a pet that doesn't live in the house anyway. But I don't fuss over the 420 of the $25 and say he don't live in the house anyway, because sometimes he does come in the house for like 5 seconds. And I try to get him in the winter time, and I can't even get him in the winter time sometimes when it's like 10 degrees and snowing outside. So, um, so raising the rent is a real possibility. It's part of the reason why I want to pay 4 months rent in advance. And my cop friend clued me in on something that I can't tell you due to the malicious people that be on the internet. That he said, he said, I probably shouldn't tell you this because it'll put evil ideals in your mind. And I'm like, please tell me right now. But there's a legal way to go about this where it's going to cause Mr. Gerald major grief. Major grief. And it's completely legal. And it doesn't involve Eric, is it Eric? No, it's Aaron Brockoviching it. And going around to all his other properties and finding disgruntled people and making a class action thing. Like I told my cousin about that, and he said, "What if you went on to run around to all of his properties and got them to all do the same thing?" The secret that I'm keeping from you about the what my cop friend knows about the landlord business. He said in all his years of landlording, this is the worst thing that anybody ever did. He said it drove his dad absolutely bonkers. And I was like, I know how to do that. I know I got a whole freaking plan etched out. And, I don't like conflict though, even though this guy deserves a lot worse than this. This guy is the landlord guy. He deserves to be taken out in an alley and beaten and hospitalized, in my opinion, because just think of all the things that happened around that um, period of time where he was taking crack money for rent. You don't think there was blood behind that? You don't think there was people beating, their lives ruined, and he had full knowledge of it? You don't think he deserves what I'm talking about? You bet he does. Um, Anyways, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but he's even telling lies on me because they're ganging up 2-1 against me, the exterminator and the landlord. So he was like, Gerald told me what you said about leaving him in a pile of blood. And I'm like, I never said anything like that. I was like, that's not what I replied to him. What I replied to him is, Gerald is a liar and a sociopath, you know. And, yeah, but I never said anything like that. Damned idiot. All I did was yell at him and told him to get the fuck out of here. I don't care if it's your building, you need to get the fuck out of here now. And I didn't say a whole lot else. I didn't say nothing about leaving him in a pool of blood. The only time I used blood in any expression here is when I could not get Bootsy to leave my house after midnight, and I couldn't lay hands on her because she was a woman, so I had to yell at her. And that's when my story where I hit the door with my arm and it was shut and I didn't know it, and I had a boing shiver all the way going up my arm, and I was like, oh fuck, that hurt, which made me angrier, of course. And I opened the door and I said, get the fuck out of my house, and I yelled her out of my house. And she was still not giving up, man. She was still saying, I'm good for it. I'm good for the money. And I was like, you don't get it. If you were a man, there'd already be blood on this floor. I didn't even say whose blood. But that's my exact words. I said, you don't get it. If you were a man, there'd already be blood on this floor. That's the only time I ever used blood in any threat. When I had the machete, I never even threatened to use the machete on them. I come out there and I said, you people are being evicted. You don't need to live here. And they started in on me like I wasn't even holding the machete. So I took the machete and I swung it against the metal mailboxes in the hallway, which is, I forgot, which is in this video, but not in the video I made, as hard as I could until, the neighbors could hear it clanging. And I pointed at him and I said, you don't know who you're fucking with. And then the dude ran and the woman took a step toward me and said, I'm not afraid of you, old man. And the dude from all the way upstairs was saying, you don't got long for this world, old man. We got guns. That's how that went down. But I told the police I never made any threat. I told them exactly what I said. And that's what I asked Gerald. I said, why do you think they let me keep a machete after that incident? Why do you think they let me keep a deadly weapon? Could it be because they knew and also probably know that I need it? That I needed it and need it? You know? So, yeah. In my opinion, like, I don't understand. I think this Gerald guy actually thinks he's a good dude. I don't. I think he does. I think he's so sociopathic and so sick in the head that he thinks it's okay to, it don't have nothing to do with him. He's just taking rent. So it doesn't matter that there's a thriving crack business in the building and that he's taking blood money. You know, uh, money that's built on human suffering and ruining people's lives. Now, he knew about the meth trade going on here, and he knew about it being a flop house for drug use where anybody could just walk in there, including homeless people. He knew about all that crap, but it wasn't money that was funded by the meth trade like it was funded by the crack trade. It was just being paid for by a government agency, as I've said before. So, yeah, this kind of sucks. This new increase in anxiety and sleep disruption, and I keep checking my pulse rate, and I don't get the tachycardia, like like panic attack type, anxiety attack type symptoms. It's just in my head, It's just in my head, and I kind of feel wrong in my chest, and that's just my head probably fucking with me about my previous heart issues and whatnot. You know, I doubt that getting sprayed with that poison had any lingering effect on me, even though I lost my sense of taste and I had a headache from between 3 to 4 days that just didn't seem to want to go away. I mean, I doubt there's any, because certain poisons can cause like anxiety symptoms and symptoms like this. Um, but, anyways, I know already did that video yesterday, but I thought I would report on my state of affairs as far as like increased anxiety, increased volume use, and as well as gabapentin because my knee has been a bitch to me lately, and been using a lot of blood pressure medication because I'm trying to keep my heart rate low. So this is a very stressful situation for me that I did not mean to get into. And I called my cousin in Florida because he's kind of a safe guy to call. But he asked the question, I thought you were saving to move, when I said, that I piled up all these greenbacks and was going to give it to the guy 4 months rent. And I explained my reasons for it. And I said, it's going to take me time. I can't move on $1,700 anyway, so it's going to take me time to build up. I only need like $5,000. I'm going to have to live here for a while, like as not. And as far as what letter I'm going to put in the envelope that I'm going to give to Roy to give to um, the landlord, I don't know how to play that. I'm thinking a better way to go than I was thinking, like under the advice of counsel, the counsel being a police officer, letting him thinking it's a lawyer or an attorney. I'm thinking just to play it nice so he gets blindsided, you know, so he's not expecting anything. He's like, just not fake, but like, I just think it's best that we avoid each other. I have a bad temper, and it's just not good for us to be, to have any more contact with each other than necessary. Here's a number if you need to get inside my apartment for any reason. There's no reason for any future hostility between us. Playing it that way rather than the threatening way. You know, so you can say, "Oh, okay," you know, you're not going to take me to court. Like, I'm sure he's not worried about that anyway. But there is a police record of meth activity in this building. There was, in the month of June, like probably 10 to 15 um, cop visits coming here. Every time I'd see a cop walk down the street in June of 2018, I was thinking, um, or I wasn't thinking, I knew they were coming here. There was just no doubt about it. I'm like, here we go, you know. And there was just random people living up there, which you could care less about. He's getting paid. But, people, like I said, that one pretty girl's like, I don't have an ID to the cops. And they're like, come on, so and so, we know it's you. Just admit it's you. Produce an ID. And she's like, no, I don't have an ID. I actually don't know the whereabouts of the person you're talking about, but I know who you're talking about, you know. And the cops were kind of idiotic because they were taking these people's words for things, you know. The guy actually wished her, well, she was incredibly cute. The guy actually wished her good luck with her recovery and stuff, and she's just lying her ass off. And she's like, yeah, I don't have an ID because my former residence was rehab. And, she's the one I saw with the wheelbarrow full of firewood that she put back there, which some of it is still back there. And one morning she came walking in here like 7 o'clock in the morning with a pink baseball bat. And, the little red wagon, like Little Rascals style, full of wood was weird enough, but to come walking in your house at 7 in the morning with a pink baseball bat, like how they have the breast cancer awareness days in baseball where everybody wears pink. It was one of those baseball bats, and I was waiting to hear some violence or something, but there wasn't no noise or anything. Um, uh, I don't want to do no repeats or anything like that, but the best I can do is like I already told you about like eventually going to eviction court and making Gerald evict me so I can take him to court and show the police records of what went on in here and explain to whatever judge. I'll talk to my policeman friend about that, however that's set up. Explain to whatever judge, like this guy allows drug trafficking in neighborhoods, and there's been people actually moved out of this neighborhood because of him. And I showed you like the houses around here are pretty nice and well kept. It's a nice looking neighborhood, right? Well, you move a meth trade and a crack trade into a neighborhood ain't so nice no more. The people that are the nice people, they start moving and leaving their house vacant. And so, like I said, I'm not a social butterfly and people don't like me. So I went and I talked to my neighbors over here, Dan and Lisa, and I was like, how well do you know the neighbors? And they're like, well, I know, because I see Lisa cutting the grass for the people across the street. And I'm like, we won't need that many names to get like a signed statement, like saying over a period of years we've seen drugs sold and drug activity associated with, and then my address, and then have their sign, their signature, and then their address. And people are very angry about what's happening in this neighborhood, so that shouldn't be too hard to get. It's just I don't know the people, and people don't like me. So this is a little tiny woman, and she's cutting other people's grass in the neighborhood, and um, she's like more of a social butterfly or whatever. So, but I got them on board because I asked the Dan guy. I said, would you be willing to sign a statement? I explained to him like getting poisoned, and then like me throwing Gerald out of his own building and told him to get the fuck out of here, and explained the whole situation to him. And I said, would you be willing to sign a statement that over a period of years you've seen continued drug dealing and drug activity? Uh, I'm not exactly sure how to phrase it. I'll ask my cop buddy. Um, Out of at my address. He's like, oh yeah, no problem. You got me down, so I can get like that kind of a thing going, and then I can go to the police station. I can get police records, and I also have to take pictures of before I sell my TV. Like, there's my chair, there's my TV, there's my three windows. I see everything that goes on in this neighborhood, you know. And I don't know how much testimony I'd actually have to do, but um, I'll have like police reports, because they make a report every time they go out. Even when I was poisoned on that bullshit thing where that dispatcher sent somebody out, no, she hung up the phone before I said, no, don't send nobody out here. But she sent a cop out here. They'll have a report on that because of the computer. Everything's documented. And all the times the police were out here looking for various felons, the fact that the guy that was actually on the lease was in jail, um, probably a known meth user, and I think the police know the connection. They know it, but I don't know if they got it in writing. They know it. The connection between how the people in this building opened up that gray building I showed you yesterday and turned it into a meth cookhouse, and then sold the drugs out of this building. Because when I told the police, I said that's the most likely scenario of what happened. And they're like, yeah, we're well aware of what's going on in this neighborhood, sir. It's just a matter of like legally, there's not much they can do about it. Because apparently landlords are kind of bulletproof in this way. They're not responsible for criminal activity that takes place in their building. It's the police's responsibility, which would have been nice to know during the crack trade, but he never said call the police. When I said there was people firing up crack bowls, I'm being redundant, but he said it never said call the police, because that would cut into his money, and crack money spends just as good as any other kind of money. You know, he likes cash. That's why I got this big pile here. He likes cash. And, you know, it don't matter where it comes from. It doesn't matter if it's a hitman was living here murdering people. He wouldn't care. You know, who knows what kind of violence went down behind the crack and the meth trade. I didn't hear none here, but once I saw a guy get chased out of here with a hammer. A guy actually chased during the meth days, and it was the Scott guy that got thrown in jail for breaking and entering into a church. Chased the guy out of here with a hammer. And I'm like, you don't look like a carpenter. You don't have nothing. He wants a nail. He's just, chasing this guy off with a hammer, him and his girlfriend. And yeah. Uh, Anyways, I'll keep this short, I guess. And short, yeah, right. 35 minutes. You just watched a whole sitcom. That wasn't very funny at all. Um, uh, just wanted to report on like the anxiety and the increased drug use to cope with the anxiety and the change in plans over not letting the exterminator off the hook. Um, yeah, because I'm not off the hook yet. I'm not well. I don't feel well physically. I'm suffering. Let him suffer too. You know, sure he made a mistake. Sure he didn't do it on purpose. But we had an oral contract and agreement, and he broke it. And then he's like calling me a sociopath. You don't even know the meaning of the word sociopath. And he's calling me like, you're the sociopath. It's like, no, a sociopath is not full of all the kind of feelings that I have. Sociopath is someone who can imitate human behavior and imitate human concern and feelings, and it's like a chameleon. That would be Gerald. A, a, a sociopath can watch criminal behavior and be like, oh, that's just terrible, and do nothing about it. Like when I was telling him about people lighting crack bowls on the porch. A sociopath does not necessarily engage in criminal behavior. The two most common, uh, let's say, the two most heavily populated groups of people that are sociopaths: politicians and religious leaders. That's just a fact. And so a psychopath is somebody who might also be a sociopath, but they engage in criminal behavior. So he meant to call me a psychopath, but he didn't understand the word that he was using. So he's calling me a sociopath and saying Gerald's a nice guy. I thought somebody's knocking on my door, man. Happy with. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye. Well, it's the next day, and the knock on the door that interrupted me was, of course, the Afghani war vet from upstairs. And he was not sober, as usual. And he bought me a good chicken sandwich, which I don't know how you can walk when you smoke that much and drink that much, but he's only like 30, 31 or something like that, so maybe that's the secret. Anyways, he bought me this chicken sandwich, and he was like, it's a big chicken sandwich. He goes, here you go, partner, and handed me through the window. He's like, you're not going to come in and sit outside? And I'm like, I don't feel like sitting outside. So he handed me this sandwich through the window, right? And I cut like, instead of cutting it in half, I just cut off like a piece because I wasn't even that hungry, but I didn't want to insult him. And I hand him the rest of it. And then I take the sandwich and I unfold it, and all the guts of the sandwich fall onto the floor. So I'm like 5 second rule, and I rebuilt my sandwich off of my carpet, and I left like a bunch of lettuce and stuff that the ants just kind of ignored, because usually the ants will come from the porch, will come through underneath the porch and inside my house somehow, because I used to eat food there and then set my dish beside the window while I was watching TV, and then the next thing I know, there's ants all over the dish, and I just like have to dump them back outside, like, you guys don't belong in here. Um, but yeah, that was funny. And then he was like, man, uh, I can't deal with you fumbling your sandwich like that. He said, here's another piece. He cut me off another piece, or he broke me off another piece of sandwich and stuff. But anyways, yeah, talking to him is always rather challenging. Um, but so like I got like, damn. So I woke up and I feel horrible because he smokes. I'm an addict. So I smoked 4 cigarettes yesterday, and I can't be doing that shit. Not. It's like an alcoholic hanging around at a bar. You just can't do it. You can't do it. But at the same time, I don't mind talking to the guy. But since he's not sober, I can't keep him from throwing cigarettes at me. So you know, and it's up to me to say no. It's up to me to take responsibility for that stuff and say no. I do not want these cigarettes. These will make me sick. But I woke up feeling extra sick today, and if you'll remember, like 3 days ago, the boat guy's on vacation. I gave him $30 to um, get money for me, and to just little chores that are like local, like within a less than half a mile radius. And he was like, cool. I paid him $30 up front. So today he was all over the place. Uh, he cut. I tell him I need this disc to this printer that I gave this guy that apparently don't want the printer because I gave it to him last Christmas. And he's a musician, so you can like take a printer and you can print out like tablature for a guitar, and it's a lot easier just taping the papers together of the whole song and learn it that way, and he can learn stuff like real quick. He's actually a very talented guitar player. Um, but he still got it over there. I bought the exact same printer for like $31 on clearance, so it wasn't no thing to me. It wasn't even really a gift, man. I was like, I can spend $34 on ink, or I can give this guy a printer, and then spend $31 on a brand new printer with brand new full ink cartridges in it, including color. I mean, it's a no-brainer, win-win. So, but he didn't want it or didn't want to mess with it or whatever, so he just left it over there since last Christmas. But I can't, because of the bed bug scare, I can't find my installation disc. And I need the installation disc to reinstall it because I have a different, it's a Wi-Fi printer, and I have a different uh, Wi-Fi passcode now. And me not being tech savvy, I'm sure there's a better way to go about that, but I don't know what it is. So I was like, oh, I'll just uninstall and then reinstall, instead of like wasting time doing that. But I feel like pure death this morning. I just feel awful. It's not really even morning. I mean, the clock says 1:35. It still feels like morning. I got up at about, well, I woke up in the middle of the night and then was up until like 6 in the morning. So like I was up like 4 or 5 hours in the middle of the night. And then woke up at 9ish, and haven't eaten anything since. I think I got some water back here I should be drinking to make me feel better. But anyways, this is a cool cup, which I don't know if that looks backwards on there, but what that says is a dog's tail never lies. And it's got the paw prints. It's not quite as cool as my Browns cup, but my niece gave this to me. And anyways, so today I'll see what kind of mood Roy's in so I can drop off. He already promised that he'd do it, but you know, because he was like, he don't like to accept stuff for nothing. Like I was saying before, like I gave him, like I said, just take this box of food, and he goes, I don't want to take your food. And I goes, no, no, you don't understand. I don't have no room for it, and I don't need it. And so it's like it's not really taking it, and actually opened the box and just took out 3 dinners, like I said in the other video, and like, I don't want these cookies, I don't want this, I don't want that. And I was like, those juices are good. And he goes like, you want those? And I'm like, no, I'm just saying they're good. You'll enjoy them with your 3 dinners. He gave me 2 of them back, and then you don't like that. And I said, well, there's something you can do for me is I don't want to see Gerald no more. I don't see the landlord no more. So you can pay the rent for me. So as soon as I get done finishing this video off, I'm going to give him a ring. And then I'm going to give Gerald a text. And, well, I'll just text both of them. That's what everybody does nowadays, right? Is text. And get that set up. But this is a C note. On the back of the C note, I don't know if that appears backwards to you or what, it only looks backwards to me, but I wrote, a man's word is worth more, and then I ran out of money, so I ran out of space, so I put a $sign. I put, a man's word is worth more than money. And I wrote on the bottom of it, we had an oral contract, Cass. Now, whether he can tape that back together and use it, I don't know. I don't care. I'm going to put it in the envelope with his name on it, and he can piece it together like a puzzle and read what's on it. Because, like I said in the previous part of this video, I'm still feeling sick. It's not from the poison, it's from the emotional stress and the nonsense. And plus, we had an oral agreement. We had an oral agreement over the phone. There was no mention of lawyers. There was no mention of signing anything. There was no mention of anything but an agreement between 2 men. And I said, when I get paid, this is over. We consider it a lesson just learned for the both of us, and it's done. So he calls lawyers, and he's protecting himself, he thinks, over like $500. So, I tore the security. I think if you tear them in half, you can tape them back together. But I tore the security band, so it might be a problem. But no, if I don't get to feel good, why should he get to feel good? For spraying me in the face with poison and breaking an oral agreement that we had, and acting like a dick to me on the phone, and getting in league with Gerald, having Gerald tell lies to him about me leaving Gerald in a pool of blood, which is absolutely ridiculous, because I'll never be stupid enough to say anything like that. And I remember what I said, and it just was a lot of fucks. Like, get the fuck out of here. You need to get the fuck out of here. What the fuck is wrong with you? And chasing them out of here. Because I know I say I don't remember what I say when I get angry, but there's no way in hell that I said that I would leave him in a pool of blood. That doesn't even make sense. I can't barely walk without falling down. Got this bruise on my arm right here. That's fresh. Falling down. I got bruises on my legs falling down. It's like it doesn't even make sense for me to make that kind of a threat. I know that I say that I go out of my head and I get illogical and shit when I get angry, but Gerald is a sizable human being, and plus he has unlimited legal recourses, and there's some part of your brain that is still sane, or I would be uh, tackling the guy and punching him in the face. You know, there's still some part of your sanity left when you get like that. Like when I had the machete, there was some part of me that was said, "This bitch is actually going to make me kill her. We don't want to do that." so, so he can piece that together, and he can make of that what he will, and I'll put it in an envelope that just says "Cass" and seal it. I don't even need to fucking seal it really. I just put an envelope that says "Cass," and I got 4 months rent together now, and you know, there's no satisfaction in that for me ripping up money. You know, I could take that $100. I just bought like four Baker Mayfield number jersey cards. Man, I'm going for like $79. I'm gonna kill on them things. I could take that $100 and I could turn it into $300 just on my knowledge of uh, and my experience of how to use eBay as a card dealer. And but you know, I can't harm these people because I'm just a poor dude, right? So I I can mess with their heads. That's what I can do. It's like I'm not gonna be able to take this guy's money. I'm just some slob on disability. I'm not gonna be able to take this guy's money unless I take him to court, and that's just a whole bunch of stress. That's just gonna put more stress on my heart, and I'm not a goddamn idiot, regardless of what you may think after tearing up $100 bill. Um, I just not put myself through that. Now I have plans for Gerald that's not going to make his life pleasant while I'm staying here saving up the 5 grand or so that I need to move out of here. And it's going to cost him money. But it doesn't really matter if it's going to cost him money. It's going to cost him annoyance. It's going to cost him maybe a little worry. You know, it's going to make him scratch his head because I told him I've met plenty of people like you, but you ain't never met nobody like me. You ain't never come across nobody like me. And I told him that. That's one of the first things I told him. It's like, I seen your kind come and go. You know, I seen sociopaths, man. I seen people that all they give a damn is about that dollar or that $100. You know, I'm not gonna be able to hurt him. The dude's probably, I don't know what his income is. But he's probably a millionaire. I'm not gonna be able to hurt him. But I am going to be able to mess with his head, and I am going to get into his wall a little bit, and I am going to embarrass him in court, and I'm going to fight back as best I can within the limitations of my health. A person should not be allowed to do that. They should not be allowed to just like deliberately ruin neighborhoods and make people move. Again, like this guy next door. You know, when I talked to Dan and Lisa, they were like, "Yeah, that's why that guy moved." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." I was like, if I was living across from that house, meth cookhouse, and I had kids, I'd be moving post haste too. You know, so um, yeah. To make matters worse, is one of the chores that I paid this guy $30 for was to pick up uh, a prescription, right? And they tell me my insurance has been canceled. And then I got like a $50 copay. And I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense, you know? And they're like, well, call your insurance. And I called my insurance, and I got automated people because it's all automated. And they were no help. And then I called again, and I got a different number, and I got more automated service. And they said, if this is concerning the issue at blah, blah, blah pharmacy, it has been resolved. And so I called the pharmacy back and I said, listen, I called my insurance like you people suggested, and they told me that I am still insured, and um, that the issue has been resolved. And she's like, well, the computer is still showing you as not having insurance, that insurance that equals zero copay, and that's for pain medication. So, you know, the gabapentin, which is a kind of a half-assed pain medication anyway, so I can do without it for a day. But she was like, "This kind of thing happens. It just happened with this other guy for a while. She's like, I'm gonna try to process it again in the morning and see what happens." So so not only do I got all this, do I feel sicker than hell, but they're telling me that my insurance is canceled and stuff. It's like, are you shitting me? It's like that can't be right because I have like an appointment on the 17th where they're actually going to come into my house and reevaluate me for the waiver program to see if I'm still eligible. At With the waiver program allows me to get like, I'm gonna leave my house a mess, but allows me to get like people to come in and do housework, which I've never taken advantage of yet. But it allows me to get those Meals on Wheels for free instead of paying their ridiculous prices for food that's not all that good. Um, and I like that doesn't even make any sense. So I wasn't like that worried about it, except for when I first heard it. I was like, "What?" I was like, I don't open all my mail that I get from CareSource because they're constantly sending me mail. And the mail always says, "This is not a bill. This is a record of this. This is a record of that." As soon as I read, "This is not a bill," I throw it away. You know, I don't open all of it though because they're sending me stuff like they're killing so many trees, sending me stuff over and over again. So yeah, this has been a fun day so far. I mean, I got to see what kind of mood Roy's in. He was in a bad mood yesterday. I'll see how he feels today, and prepare my envelope, and um, we'll see what's what. Now I know if you tear a bill in half, you can tape it together and still use it. I don't know if you can tear it in quarters and still use it, but I consider that money well spent. And the guy that got me the C note, because I said, look, the guy that paid $30 to do these chores for me, he's like, I can't. He made one attempt to get a $100 bill. He's like, you gotta understand, people, as soon as they get hundreds, man, they sock them away, because of robbers and stuff. And he went to like one place, and I'm like, listen, man, just go to a bank and do it. It's not too much to ask. And there's a bank right down the road. Just walk in there and get me a C note. And he's like, yeah, I know it's not too much to ask. You know, um, you know, he cost me 9 C notes on that boat out there. You know, you should be doing this shit for free. Don't call me on my phone, whoever you are. I don't care who you are. I'm gonna turn this off. I'll let it stop ringing. But anyways, um, are you ever gonna stop ringing? Ringing. Thank you. Probably lawyers calling me. So that's another call from Ohio. I don't know what that's about. I should start answering those. If it's a lawyer, I'll just be like, "Sir, I'm not interested in talking to you." But that didn't. It just shows up as Ohio. Like when Assurance Wireless called me, it showed up as Assurance Wireless. That's kind of like a caller ID. And so, you know, I don't know. That could be got from the guy's private phone, the lawyer in question that's trying to get a hold of me or whatever. I don't know. Don't care. You know, I don't care. Um. Anyways, uh, You gotta understand, this is just paper. This is just like a symbol. You know, this paper, it doesn't mean nothing. It don't mean nothing, man. You know, you got to have it, of course, to live, because that's the society that we live in. But let me tell you this: would you rather have a bunch of dead green faces, or would you rather have a bunch of friends and a bunch of live people that can help you when you need help? You know, people get too hung up on that shit. I made a point like that before with my sister. Like, I'm talking like 1990, where I was like, "So this is the only thing that's important to you?" And I turned on the gas stove and I just threw two 20s on the fire and just burn them up. You know, people get people get hung up on stupid shit, man. Their priorities are just all fucked up. I don't understand it. Um, you know, I understand the importance of having enough money to get by so you can eat, and I understand it's the coin of the realm and that you need it, and that we don't use the barter system anymore, so I can't barter my talents, what little I have, for goods and services. That this is how the system that we have. But people just get so hung up on that shit, man. They'll do it. Like I said, guys like the landlord I'm talking about, they will like take money that they know has blood on it, and they won't care. And there's that movie with Judgment Night called Emilio Estevez. It's called Judgment Night. It's like from the early '90s. Stars Emilio Estevez, Dennis Leary as the bad guy, and there was like a bag of money in it. And the one guy opened it and commented on it and said, "This money has blood on it." And he said, "You ever see any that didn't?" I was like that line. I just think it's cool. It's a cool line. Wish I would have wrote it. There ain't nothing like. They say brevity is the soul of wit, but if this is coming from one of the most uh, least brief people you've ever met. But if you can pull that shit off in print, where you just say like the short, like a short little like jab like that, like people don't forget shit like that. Like you'll know this line right off the bat. It's deserves got nothing to do with it. You know, if you can pull that stuff off, like you ever see any that didn't, or whatever it was, the line that I just said from that movie, which I haven't seen since it come out in 1990. So he's like, yeah, this money has blood on it. You ever see any that didn't? Because it's blood, sweat, and tears for the working man that's got to make that money. And in my own way, I'm earning that money with the suffering that I go through every day, which, that's what people tell me anyway. I never bought that shit. It's like, I'm not an entitled feeling type of person, so I don't feel entitled to an existence, or entitled to a government stipend, or entitled to you people's tax dollars. I never felt entitled like that. Like I deserve this just because I'm a human being, or just because I'm suffering and in pain. Uh, mm, uh, yeah, there's a line written by Robert Heinlein that it says, well, I have it posted in another video, but the line basically is, uh, man is born with no inherent rights. It's like, I don't have a right to exist. I exist due to the kindness of the society that I live in, and the ethos or ethics that people that are born with disabilities or that acquire disabilities should still get uh, three hots and a cot. They still should, they shouldn't be marched off and hit with the Cyclone B, which I learned a fascinating fact, and I would like to end on this fascinating fact rather than all this gloomy, um, maybe possibly upsetting talk. But I guess this is gloomy too, but it's kind of fascinating. It's like I saw a review by this guy called the Maniacal Cinephile about the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with Johnny Depp and the original Gene Wilder Willy Wonka thing, whatever it's called. And he said that um, they made one of the movies in Germany. Uh, I think they made the original shot. Let's see if I can get it right. Okay, they shot the original movie in Germany, and in Germany, they made the movie in the 70s. In Germany, dwarves were like Jews. They were like the mentally handicapped. Hitler wanted, they were, due to his eugenics program, they sent the dwarves into the gas chambers too. So dwarves became pretty scarce in Germany. But when they had the Oompa Loompas in the original Willy Wonkas, they was able to find individual dwarves to play the Oompa Loompas. This guy points out that, like in the Johnny Depp Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, they just use one little Indian guy, and he's like this. He plays like 20. It's the same guy. It's just one guy. He's like, if this movie is shot in like L.A. or whatever, and you mean to tell me that they can find uh, dwarves that suffered through, or little people, we'll call them, whatever you want to call them, people that are shorter than us. If they can find individual ones in Germany in the 70s after Hitler's eugenics program, they could probably find them in America, but instead they have like a one Indian dude playing all the Oompa Loompas through a computer trickery. Anyways, I found that interesting, and I don't really got nothing else to say about nothing. Um, Hopefully, I'll feel better, and I have to get off my butt and see how Roy's doing today, or see where his head's at. He might even change his mind about this whole thing, and see if he'll let me. He agreed to it, but you know, I would be moody as hell too if I was stuck in a wheelchair. I'm moody as hell as it is, I guess, because I'm kind of just stuck inside all the time, and it's 88 degrees today, man. So I'm making a great sacrifice for you people by keeping the air conditioner on, because it's a humid 88 here, and I'm 60 miles from Lake Erie in the idyllic little town of Massillon, Ohio. And uh, this is Florida shit here. I'm not used to this. You know, this is like some of the hottest weather. The hottest day that I can remember was 104. Let's put it that way. In 1988, in the famous drought summer of 1988 in Ohio. But this is like crazy hot for around here because we're up north. It's just, I guess I could have just said we're too high up north for it to be 88 degrees, but then the humidity is really high too, and that's what air conditioners are great for, is sucking that humidity out of the air. I do feel a bit moist. It's likely to have the vapors if I don't get off of here and turn on that AC. And yes, I do rely upon the kindness of strangers. So all you taxpayers, thank you. And I hope you're not insulted by what I did, and I hope you understand it. It's symbolic. We'll put it that way. I hope you understand the power of symbol and why I would do something like that. But I am sure that many of you are saying, this dude's out to lunch. But if you've listened to me long enough, you understand that I have my own rules of ethics and my own ideas. And I will admit freely to being a little bit out there. So, man, I wish you the best of days, and I hope you feel good today, and I hope you feel 1,000% better than I do. And I'm gonna drink me the hell out that water jug you see back there, and hope to uh, see you again soon. Uh, Goodbye.